I'm born and raised Washington Heights. Oh, there's so much culture up here. There's so much beauty up here. People are amazing. Food is amazing. The fruits are amazing. Whoever hasn't been here needs to be here, needs to come visit at least once ever in their life.
Welcome to About the Journey. I'm your host, Oneika Raymond, a travel journalist and member of Marriott Bomboy. This season, I'm uncovering the lesser-known sides of 6 iconic cities. In my years of travel, I've found there is no better way to see a city than through its neighborhoods and the people who call them home. So I'll be meeting up with in-the-know locals to show me what makes their homes one of a kind, from the sights, sounds, and flavors to the hidden gems and so much more. This week, we're in New York City's Washington Heights, a true crown jewel of Upper Manhattan.
Washington Heights is loud.
If you're hungry, we're gonna feed you. If you need somewhere to stay, we're gonna have a place to stay for you. We like to take care of our own. So if you're here, you're one of ours.
It's very lively, and I would say it's one of the last communities in New York City. And there's a sense of like protecting your own and protecting what we have here.
That's what Washington Heights is. We just loud, we're energetic, this is what we do. So if you're gonna come up here, you gotta be part of the same culture.
Washington Heights is a culturally rich and unapologetically Dominican neighborhood just 2 miles north of Central Park that somehow feels a world away. It stretches north from 155th Street to Dyckman Street and spans Manhattan from the Hudson River to the Harlem River. Home to the largest Dominican population in the city, you'll hear predominantly Spanish spoken on its bustling, vendor-filled streets. The sounds and smells transport you back to the DR, and Caribbean hospitality can be found in just about every barbershop, bodega, and food cart that lines its sidewalks. And for me, that Caribbean warmth is what Washington Heights is all about. The people, la cultura. It's what sets this neighborhood apart from anywhere else in the world. And that is precisely why I'm visiting it today. So I took the A-line all the way uptown to meet up with Washington Heights local Hector Espinal for a walking tour of his home, offered by one Caribbean islander to another.
How's it going?
Hi!
How you doing?
My God. It's so good to meet you.
Welcome uptown.
Thank you so much.
Hector is the co-founder of We Run Uptown, the first running group in Uptown Manhattan. He knows the streets of Washington Heights like the soles of his favorite running shoes. We meet in front of Locksmith Bar, a local watering hole, and We Run Uptown's official meeting point before starting our walking tour of some of Hector's favorite spots in the neighborhood.
Let's cross the street. All right, so instead of us, we have to get to 184th Street and Broadway.
Okay.
We could either take this huge hill, which we're not going to do, or we can do what all the locals do and cross through the tunnel and take the elevator and take St. Nicholas down.
I am here for it. I love these like local secrets. I don't come uptown very often.
Shortcut.
So
This is a shortcut. 194th Street
that.
tunnel.
Hector leads us into the 191st Street subway station to the deepest underground passageway in all of New York City. As we walk down a flight of stairs, the air becomes cooler and stiller, and our voices bounce off of the tunnel's curved walls.
The reason why we're doing this, the alternative is a hill. It's 2 hills. We're about 15 to 20 stories down.
Oh, wow.
There's no other way to get up there. It's either you take the hill or you take the elevator.
We pile into the elevator, and in no time, we step out of its sliding doors and straight into the beating heart of Washington Heights.
So we are now on St. Nicholas Avenue. This is the sweet spot. This is where like uptown feels like uptown.
Mm-hmm.
This is where we're gonna see street vendors. We're gonna see some local food spots. It's where I grew up coming. So Washington Heights, it's like a human. It's like a person, you know. When you wake up before you have your coffee, you're a little groggy. But once 12 p.m. hits, that you're up and you're moving, you're energized. You know, the streets are bustling.
Hector and I weave our way down St. Nicholas Avenue, cutting through Washington Heights' busy sidewalk markets. Everywhere you look, there are overflowing cartons of fresh fruit and crisp produce. We watch shoppers test each piece of fruit for peak ripeness using all of their senses, and delivery trucks idle nearby with more product. All around us, people on the go speak rapid Spanish. The words mixed with beats of reggaeton and salsa coming out of shop doors and passing cars. It's the symphony of Washington Heights that authors and filmmakers have based entire books and films upon.
I feel like Washington Heights is relentless, you know, and if you, like, I can only think about like why my parents immigrated here and not like somewhere in the Midwest, you know. This is where they were connected to the island. This is where the person at the bodega spoke Spanish. That if my mom was $3-4 short, it's like, don't worry about it, give it to me on Friday. And that's like the beauty of that, like that immigration story.
Oh, I know it. I've lived it.
You know, the same way Dominicans have that here.
Dominicans got it in Flatbush.
The Chinese have it in Chinatown, and you go to these places. This is the spot.
We make our way down to 182nd Street and St. Nicholas Avenue, where the majority of the neighborhood street vendors set up shop. They're situated on all corners of this busy cross street. Here, options are plenty. You can get everything from fresh fruit smoothies and juices to heftier dishes like la bandera, the Dominican take on rice and beans. But the one dish you're not to miss is the habichuelas con dulce from Nidia Rivera, who's been selling the Dominican dessert on this corner for over 30 years.
So there's habichuela con dulce is like beans. It sounds crazy, but it's like sweet beans. It's amazing, and it is a staple during Semana Santa. Then they have maíz, which is like almost like a corn pudding. They have majarete, which is also made out of corn. These are all struggle meals that have become desserts. So think of like
Hector hands me a small paper cup filled to the brim with a light caramel-colored liquid with flecks of spices like cardamom, ginger, and nutmeg. Small white crackers float on the surface, ready to be pushed down with a spoon. The dessert is a treat of the Dominican Republic that's enjoyed all year round, but especially during Semana Santa or Holy Week.
You know, you eat it with a spoon. It has a Maria cracker on the top. You got grab the cracker. You got to grab the cracker in there with it, yeah. You know, and
That's tasty.
This is
The cracker.
Dominican love language. Every neighbor that's making this is gonna want to share this with their with their neighbors. Any person in a building. I don't eat everybody's habichuela con dulce because everyone doesn't know how to make it correctly.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, but you gotta label them. This one came from 4A. This one came from 2B. Because you want to make sure you're eating the good one. You know?
Right.
From Nidia Rivera's, we can already eye our next stop on the tour, La Casa del Mofongo, a neighborhood staple and one of Hector's go-to restaurants in Washington Heights.
So this is what I grew up eating. This is our tradition.
As the name suggests, La Casa del Mofongo boasts over 20 different types of mofongo. Now, mofongo is a traditional dish with cross-cultural roots in Puerto Rico and the DR. It's made by frying and mashing plantains with crispy pork skin called chicharrón. Today, though, we've arrived a little early for mofongo, so Hector orders us a late breakfast instead. Soon, we're brought out heaping plates of boiled and mashed plantains called mangú, fried eggs, cheese, Dominican sausage, and
Morir soñando, which translates to like die dreaming. Think of a creamsicle in a cup.
Between bites, we connect over our shared love of running, Hector's journey to start We Run Uptown, and how he's rallied Washington Heights around getting up and out.
What makes Washington Heights or what makes Uptown so great to run? People run in like Central Park and all these other things. So what makes Washington Heights a great place to run?
It's the people. It's the culture, la cultura. You have the cultura that you have uptown. You're not gonna find it on the Upper West Side. You're not gonna find it in the Lower East Side. People aren't gonna stop and honk the horn. And we have people stopping traffic for us so we don't get hurt. You know, and they're motivating us and they're clapping for us. And I've ran through all over the city. I've run all around the world and I don't feel that energy that I feel uptown.
And let's run it back a little bit because you said that there was nothing like this group for us. Who is us?
Us, it's people of color, specifically Dominicans, you know. So I never felt like I had a place. when it came to running. I remember vividly seeing runners on Riverside Drive, and I didn't see myself in there. I couldn't fathom, you know, like, oh, I'm gonna be a runner. And in 2013, I was like, let's do this, let's try this. And at first it was very selfish. It was me trying to lose weight. And through social media, I started to get people to come join me. I did a lot of begging, a lot of groveling on the gram.
Why begging and groveling?
Because no one wanted to join me.
Why?
Because this wasn't something that our people did.
It wasn't something that our people did. And you know what? When you say that hits for me. It's so important for there to be a fuller representation in athletics.
Yeah. We've created a platform where people of color, Latinos, African Americans can come and feel seen. Yeah. This is our space.
So what was it like for you to grow up within this environment?
You gotta finish chewing.
Wash it down.
I couldn't pick a better place to grow up. Growing up in Washington Heights is, it's molding. It's a very unique neighborhood. My parents got here in the 80s. I laugh about this all the time. I wish I could find who the first Dominican was that came to Washington Heights and made that rally cry, like, yo guys, pull up, we found a new home. But that's how it starts, you know? Someone that my mom knew moved to Washington Heights and told her, like, hey, you gotta go there, land of opportunity. And the person at the bodega speaks Spanish. Yep. And growing up in Washington Heights, I couldn't get away with anything because everyone knew each other. There was a sense of community. You can still feel that in Washington Heights.
I think what I really love about what you just said is the fact that when I asked you what makes Uptown such a great place to run, you didn't give me a landmark. You didn't say, oh, it's the view of the river, right? It wasn't, oh, the beautiful park. It was la cultura. Mm-hmm. It was the people, the sights, the sounds. It was the people who are giving you a drink because they see that you're part. Now I'm curious, what are some of the best running routes here in Washington Heights specifically?
The tunnel that I took you through, the George Washington Bridge. It's beautiful. I love running over the GWB because when you're in the middle of the George Washington Bridge, you can look straight down the Hudson River and you see this beautiful view of Manhattan. So
that
whenever I'm up there, I'm like, yo, this is mine, bro. Like, I've ran all up and down this, but that's one of my favorite views. And just really honestly, if I want someone to see Washington Heights for what it is, we're gonna run on St. Nicholas Avenue.
Okay.
And the reason we're gonna do that is because it's the best way to see the food vendors, the street vendors, to really capture what Washington Heights is. You know, I think of like Washington Heights in the summer and all the cars blaring with the music and the people playing dominoes and the street vendors and the noises and the smells and the sounds.
Obviously, there's a lot of energy, like, in the group. You all meet on Monday nights.
Every single Monday night.
Every single Monday night
since 2013, rain, sleet, hail, or snow.
You have not missed a Monday night.
Never. We meet up at Locksmith. It's that one day of the week that I've dedicated to myself to see my closest friends. The one thing that's beautiful that I love to do is I like to embarrass the people that show up for the first time. And that's just to break the ice. So I'll be like, hey, who's here for the first time today? Raise your hand, first timers. We want everyone to feel the same way that we felt when we came into the running community, invited and welcomed. After we go, we head on the 5K run, 3 miles. Josh wants to make y'all run 5 miles today. When we come back, we do a quick stretch and then we invite everybody back into Locksmith. Shared struggle, common experience is what builds community. You know?
For us, by us.
Exactly.
Did you ever imagine that running would take you to these places?
No, because I stopped half a mile in. I went out for a 3-mile run and got 10 blocks.
Let me tell you something. The journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. So there you go.
It was like, it is the most selfless thing I've ever done in my life. And as a child of immigrant parents, and you would know better than anybody, you just want to make them proud, you know? And like, I remember sitting with my mom and she told me this saying, it's called ponte pa lo tuyo, like get on your grind. And I wrote it on a Post-it note and the Post-it note fell once. It lost its adhesiveness. And I called my tattoo artist that day and I was like, hey, I have an idea, I want to get this tattooed, and I got these tattoos on my leg, above my knee, that say ponte pa lo tuyo, like get on your grind.
With Hector's mom's words fresh in our mind, we leave La Casa del Mofongo and make our way 10 minutes south towards J. Hood Wright Park.
This is the more quiet part of the neighborhood. You know, when you want to decompress, you want to chill out, you want to be away from some of the commotion, you come to J. Hood Wright Park.
From where we are, we get an absolutely clear view of the George Washington Bridge cutting gracefully across the Hudson River.
I wanted to show you the most beautiful view of the George Washington Bridge. It's right behind me. We are going...
Just seeing it gets us pumped up for the final activity on our walking tour, a victory run. After all, a visit to Hector's Washington Heights wouldn't be complete without one.
We are going to make a left on 173rd Street and venture off into Broadway, St. Nicholas, and see the loud parts of the neighborhood.
You know what? I'm ready to run.
How long are we going? 10 miles?
15.
3 miles. 3 miles. 3 miles. Meet in the middle.
Okay, let's get it.
Come on.
You know, we often have a tendency to stay in our neighborhoods. We don't get out of our boroughs, or we don't explore as much as we should. And that was absolutely the case for me in terms of New York City. I can count the number of times on both hands that I've made it up to Washington Heights. And coming on this day and spending time with Hector makes me realize not only that I need to explore more, but I really need to come up to Washington Heights because it is such a vibrant area with so many things to do. The people that you will encounter in Washington Heights, not only are they very vocal, but they're also very kind. And they encourage you through their liveliness to come out of your shell and to become part of the community. And I think that is a cornerstone of travel, this idea of being able to go and take part, the ability to learn about one another and connect. And you really feel that spirit in a place like Washington Heights. And I definitely will be back. That's all for this episode of About the Journey. Thank you to our Washington Heights guide, Hector Espinal. Next week, we're headed to South London's bustling Peckham neighborhood to steep ourselves in the culture of one of the city's most eclectic districts.
If you're going to bump into anyone, it will probably be on Right Lane. Okay. So if you don't want to be seen, if you don't want to bump into your aunties, your mom's best friend, you don't want to be sent on an errand to Right Lane.
About the Journey is produced by Marriott Bonvoy Traveler, At Will Media, and me, Oneika Raymond. Our Marriott producers are Robin Benefield, Valerie Connors, and Jess Moss. Our At Will Media producers are Kate Walsh, Christy Westgard, Gail Straub, and Elliot Davis. Editing by Andrew Holtzberger. Follow along with We Run Uptown on Instagram at Root Crew. And you can find Hector on Instagram at HeckIsDead. You can learn more about visiting Washington Heights and how to travel more meaningfully from Marriott Bonvoy Traveler at traveler.marriottbonvoy.com. Stay, explore, and discover the unexpected with Marriott Bonvoy's 30-plus hotel brands and over 8,000 hotels in cities around the world. And if you like this episode of About the Journey, please be sure to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. I'm your host, Oneika Raymond. See you next time.